Good morning. Let's see. You can't see me yet. 1 second. Namaskar, Nitin ji. How are you?
Namaskar, Jain. How are you doing?
It's good to see you today. I'm so glad that you're here and you're making this time on Sunday morning. I know Sunday mornings are precious. So I am Punit Mahendru, and I'm one of the resident faculties here. And I'm a psychologist by profession, and I teach some counseling and psychology classes to the CHT scholars. And I know that I actually know that you were a classmate way back of Gaurav ji. And, in terms of your paths, they've been parallel paths, his and yours in seva and in spirituality. So thank you so much for being here. I have to say, I don't know too much about the work you've been doing. So would love to have you start with that and share with us what are the things that you're involved with at this time.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning, Jain. I don't even know if you are on the East Coast or not. And are you from East Coast side or are you on the West Coast?
I'm from the West Coast, and you have the privilege of waking me up and getting me dressed early morning.
I am so sorry. My sincere apologies.
Not at all. One should do that sometimes, right? Break up the routine, and that makes things alive. Yes, not at all.
No, because I'm right now in Baltimore, Washington, because there was a wedding yesterday of our friends. And I was like, okay, before I start going back to New York, let me have this discussion. And I said early morning better because then I would be driving. So my apologies, but thank you for
not at all. Not at all. Yeah. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So about myself, as you know, me and Gaurav were in our high school together, right? Through 10th grade, I think. So we met each other. I was in 4th, I think. So when he joined the school, and it's been amazing school years together. Then obviously our paths moved in different places, and he went on to finish his engineering. I went on to do my BSc in physics, came here in United States almost at the same time. And then somewhere deep down, I think so the core values of our faith drove us. And our school's name was Faith Academy, right?
Oh, wonderful.
And the good thing about our school was it was a Christian missionary school. So there were these earlier school years where all our education around the Bible and the Christ was very like mandatory and required. And we went on to do that. But as we got in our higher grades, I personally felt always that our school allowed us more to be faith-based students than about Christianity or Hinduism or Jainism or Islam. So it was more about what drives us to become better citizens and better people. So as for me, that became my guiding light. And in America, around 2007, 8, I was contemplating my purpose for life. And I'm like, okay, is it going to be this routine 9 to 10, get up, work, somehow finish work, and then continue to work in this world of laptops and technologies from home? And I was like, where am I? What am I doing? And I switched jobs in that regards because I couldn't find time for myself at all. And in that process, once I was able to really come out of that, I joined another company where the travel got removed, right? So I was on 100% travel, like living out of a suitcase, as they call it. And once that travel got out, it just so happened that there were elections being announced for Jain Center of America in New York. And this temple has been in existence since 1968, but 2005 they built a whole new building, and I was part of that pratishtha ceremony and everything. And that's where I think so that kindled in me, okay, am I doing anything for the community or not? So in 2008-9, when that happened, everybody told me, why don't you apply for the elections and become an executive member? And I said, okay, I have some time, I don't have travel, so let me do this. And that opened up my world in public space of community working.
Mhm.
And immediately when I joined, they immediately made me the administrator, and I got involved and I started meeting people and creating events for the community, the various religious events, representing the temple in other places, in other communities, and interfaith and everything. So 2009, almost January to 2016, September, I remained with Jain Center of America, New York, which is 1,000+ families are as its community members, and it's the oldest Jain center in America. And I met a lot of beautiful um, men and women, senior citizens who have been here since 68, 69, who set all this up, and seeing the world that we were in, where it was given to us, right? We had a space, we had a temple, and we had a community, and hearing about their struggles, that there was no one, and we had to set this up. We had to buy a house, and in this house we started doing our kirtans and jobs, and now this house has become our temple. And things like that brought me closer to the challenges of our community as they came to United States and set up the Indian American culture as we know about it. And through that temple, I got started getting involved in various interfaith areas, and I became very uh, like they started inviting me to speaking at various interfaith forums in Long Island and things like that. And through that work in interfaith, in 2019, they requested me to represent in the board of trustees of the Parliament of the World's Religions. They wanted a representation from the Jain faith, right? And my name was nominated. I was interviewed by the board, and they brought me in. And once I got in 2019, um, within 3 months, the treasurer resigned. And since my background is in finance and accounting and roles of CFO and everything, they immediately made me the treasurer. And
This is the
2019-20,
treasurer of?
the Parliament of the World's Religions,
Oh, okay.
right? So I started with that, and um, I think so, yeah. 19 and 20, I was the treasurer, and in 20, in December, when the elections happened, the board nominated me to be the chairperson of the Parliament of the World's Religions.
Wonderful.
And I did not want to contest an election because I'm not about elections. I'm like, I believe in this concept of there is a team and I'm part of that team. And but there is this concept of who is the leader of the team, and they requested me to lead it. And then the then chair was contesting with me, right? And I still feel bad how it happened and what happened. I won by a margin of 1 vote. So it's not like I'm better than somebody, but it's just the numbers. Sometimes they work this way. And I became the chair in 2020 for 21. And it's an annual selection of the chair from the board. So when I became the chair, the balance sheet of the Parliament of World Religions was messed up, is messed up even today, but it is much better today than when it was. And the Toronto convening that had happened in 2018 was a difficult challenge for the organization from its planning of revenue versus the planning of expenses. So there was a lot of borrowings to finance it. And the organization was struggling from its fiscal discipline, but organization has a purpose. There is a strong need for all of us to come together to develop a common understanding of our issues and solving those problems. So when I joined Parliament, that was my motive, to provide the Jain perspective to world issues and try to bring that. And there, when I got there and I saw the fiscal issues, so it became important for me to be able to generate funds to solve this fiscal problem, and to solve those financial problems, to generate funds, you need to create that programming that people believe that there is a purpose for this organization. In 1893, when the world came together for the Parliament of World's Religions, and Swami Vivekanand ji, Veer Chandraghav Gandhi ji, Agarkar from India, these people, when they came to the parliament, right, they created that initial insight into our faith philosophies, in our religious convictions of about our purpose of why we as a society survived everything, right? We survived all the years. We are not. And when I went there and I saw that, I was like, this is not a dead organization. It's not like a legacy that you have to keep it. There's a purpose even today. And to generate funds, we need to create programming.
I want to remark here, Nitinji, that when you joined the Jain Center in New York, and when you took on their role as their executive, did you know that this is going to be a path, and that you will at some point be in this prestigious spiritual position in the United States?
Absolutely not, Punitji. And that is where my heart is always filled with gratitude and thanks to the Lord, to the karmas, to the philosophy of our faiths, that and that's where I many times feel like that there's a purpose, and I'm being driven towards that purpose, right? And somewhere when I, like last year in 2021, to create programming, we created the first online convention of the Parliament of the World's Religions. And there were more than 500 programs. In less than 6 months, we had applications for almost 900 programs. We were able to bring in 500. I was able to talk to such strong people of the faith communities around the world who are driving our human purpose of coexistence, of love, of harmony, of being together, right? And bringing that happiness as of a community. And not only that, because we were able to do that, some of our debt owners released some of their funding for us as donations. They changed our interest rates on us big time. And all of a sudden, the parliament is now in a place of, we can survive it. We have a decent debt balance. We generate enough funds. And then in that same process, I said, okay, it cannot be that we do this one digital convention and then we don't know where we are. So on the last day of the digital convention, we announced that in 2023, we're going to meet in Chicago again at the 130th anniversary of the 1893 and the 30th year anniversary of the revival of the original movement. And today, my work is like, I spend a good amount of time on weekends and weeknights on starting to plan and execute that convention,
Right. So
because it will be an in-person convention, and it's
ah,
not like, so we have to find the space, the people, the hotels,
true,
the
true.
travel arrangements, and all that is in works right
So,
now.
so that's the thing that I wanted to sort of have our scholars note, that you just started the journey with the purpose, a lot of times people have this question, where will it get me? How will I move forward? Where will the funds come from? What is it going to look like? How will I find the time? Is it going to serve me? Is it going to serve the community? But with some faith and commitment and effort, you just put yourself in the situation and just kept putting the best, hardest foot forward, one foot at a time, and the road sort of unraveled in front of you. And that is something I just want them to note, because I think a lot of times scholars, well, where will this go? What will happen? Will something happen? And they get bogged down with what ifs and is it really needed? And what can I possibly contribute? A lot of self doubt and a lot of doubt in general about the future. But just starting this journey on volunteering, and the path sort of kind of opens up.
Absolutely, Punichi. And the idea of what will the future bring, sometimes I leave it on the future to unfold itself and it's all its glory, because then it is, you celebrate it more, right? When it happens, you're there, it goes for it, right? The whole convention last year, and in that effort, everyone was like, in my board was like, okay, yes, we agree, we need to set something up. We visited Chicago, we saw the convention center, because we didn't want to announce without seeing the place. So we did all that. And then to support us, the mayor of Chicago literally came at the last to welcome everybody to Chicago, right? So when that opened up, the whole community of interfaith around the world was like, wow, you already have the city welcoming
Yeah.
everybody. And when that unfolded, I was like, whoa, we really got somewhere with this, right? Because generally the cities get involved when, like, on 1 month before the event, right? When all of a sudden they're like, okay, oh, you're here. Now they're involved, don't take me wrong, but they're not like excited about it. And here we are having Chicago as our partner, the city of Chicago, who is so excited about it that they are literally helping us plan it, helping us execute it.
So
And
Nitinji, I'm sorry for interrupting, but in this journey, you're putting in so much effort, and right now, you're traveling and finding space and putting forth so much effort. This is sort of become your main focus in life. How has it impacted you personally, in as a person and your family, and have there been some challenges along the way? What has been the impact?
um, I think so. The biggest, like, if there is a challenge, then the challenge is about time to certain commitments on a personal level, right? So if I am planning for this, or I have a meeting to discuss the proposals, and somebody has a birthday party in their house and they invite us socially, obviously my preference is to do this than to go to the birthday party, right? So my social commitments on that personal level have gone down a little, right? But my friends are all like, oh my God, is there an event where you don't get to? I'm like, yeah, I will make sure. Now, if you invite at 6 p.m. and it's a 4-hour party, then yes, you will not see me from 6 to 10, but I will honor your respect, and I'll be there at around 8, be there for an hour and then go, or come at 9 and leave at 10 when it ends. So I'll respect you too, but my time of 4 hours is no longer yours. I have a larger purpose where I'm being asked to support, and I need to be there. I need to be there where there are people who are looking for my leadership, my commitment to say, yeah, this program is good, or let's invite this person. Okay, I'll be there to be in person to introduce the project, so that way I can start the conversation with this individual. And I said,
So has there been a time when this kind of a conflict of time schedules been something that, that it really did pinch a little? There was some commitment that you couldn't make. Sometimes people will talk about, maybe it was their child's graduation or it was a special ceremony. Was there a time when you missed something like that because of your commitment here?
No, and that's a beauty, Puniti, right? That when it came to my commitment to social community and Jain Center of America and to Parliament of World's Religions, it has been an amazing balance of everything. Honestly, prior to that, when I was in my first company and with the 100% travel, I was literally missing my son's games, my son's school events, and everything. And as a 5-year old child, he told me, Papa, you will never be at any of my ball games, right? I said, why?
Oh,
Why do you say that? He said,
uh-huh.
you're never there. You're always traveling, and all my ball games are on weekdays. And so we will always miss it. You're only on there on Saturday practices, but you're never there for the games.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that hit me. I'm like, am I losing my biggest friendship that I need to mature into because I don't have time? And
Mm,
then I became this, and then I joined Jain Center of America or Parliament, and I'm in all these events or everything, but I'm there locally, and I was there for his game. Then I ran to the temple, attended the event there, came back, and I was able to manage that because I was local. And now my son just said to me on my 50th birthday, he was like, the biggest thing that I like about you is you were there everywhere for me. There was not an
oh, how
event. And
wonderful.
not only that, after his high school graduation, I'm part of his high school team, like board, and I talk to them about how to like I'm involved in design of their 5-year plans and things like that. And he's like, which father does that? That
Yeah,
they continue to remain with the high school when the
right.
child has left. And I'm like,
Do you feel somewhere, Nitinji, that there was a grace that just flowed through you and created this path for you, that it was that you just became a channel when you were on the right path, you just became a channel and the divine just did its work?
absolutely, absolutely. There was a hymn that we used to sing in our school: make me a channel of your peace, make me a channel of your love.
What an irony. I was actually humming that literally like 40 minutes back as I was getting ready, because we sang it too on an almost, if not daily, once every other day.
Yeah.
Make me a channel of your peace.
Yeah.
And for
And
for for it is, and the one line that I was especially thinking, especially after talking to Gaurav ji, I just spoke with him day before yesterday for a similar interview, and the line says, "For it is in giving that we receive," and
absolutely.
and it sounds like that's what you kind of just went with your feeling, your faith, and the divine just put the energy in the right path.
Absolutely, absolutely. And balancing it, right? Obviously, the economics of the household is also there. So I had to balance my work life, my personal life, and my community life, and my spiritual life. And I just say sometimes that there is an external force that is that is like, so if you look at from different faith perspectives, there is a God that is giving me this, right? Then there is some other philosophy that tells you that that the karmas are fruiting up to get to there. And for me personally, I believe that there is a force that is allowing my energy to flow in the positive direction, and that force somewhere is an external concept, yes, right? But then it could be that even that force exists for everybody, but how do I use that force to put it in the right perspective. So somewhere it is my personal effort, and Jains believe in that. आपका उपयोग क्या है? आपने, where did you put your effort, right? So if
Mm.
my effort goes in the right direction, then I strongly believe in the alchemist way that the universe comes to support you,
Comes to
right?
support
The
you,
whole
right?
universe becomes part of your journey.
Because
And
you're aligned with the strength, with the
of
power.
the, exactly, and I have seen that manifesting itself, right, in challenges, like where I'm like, okay, how do I, like, it's not like I've worked in interfaith for 30 years and then all of a sudden I'm like recognized. I've been there for 2 years in a major organization, and for trustees of my team who were there for 30 years, 20 years, they are the ones who started the 1993 parliament. For them to trust me and say, no, you need to be our person. You need to be the
Ah,
person who is going to be the first amongst equals. And,
right.
and they still laugh at me. They're like, do you do anything where you don't involve us? I said, no, I can't. That's not me. If I
Right.
start doing that, then that's not me. And I will fail a lot of people, from my parents to my teachers to my gurus to my wife to my son, if I make those choices now. I want us as a community to make choices that are right for us as a human society, and more the merrier, because if I can convince 10 of you, you will convince 10 more, they will convince 10 more, and now it starts spreading. But if I make a decision where no one is aligned with me, then it's my way and my highway, and no one supports me then. So
So do you think this might be one message that you'd like to give to the scholars, is that in their work that they do, to do it as a team, as a community, and that's the way to lead, by joining hands with everyone.
absolutely, absolutely. And by virtue, see, by virtue of them making you their representative, somewhere they have trusted your leadership, but they have not given you the power to ignore them.
Right.
And what happens many times with leadership positions is we start saying, oh, I can make the choice now. I can say it has to be Chicago, and in Chicago, it has to be at the McCormick Center. No, the team has to say, is it going to be Chicago? Is
Right.
it going to be in McCormick Center? And if I am convinced that this will work, or in under my leadership, I can bring it to shape, I need to convince them with my vision that they all get aligned and say, yeah, we can do this. Yes, Chicago is possible. We are all local, our teams are local, and let's generate within 2 years another forum of dialogues where we as a community of the world comes together to solve our problems on poverty, on women equality, on environment, on like all this has to be together in a faster pace, because Parliament does its convenings 4 or 5 years, and between those 4 or 5 years, okay, where is the Parliament is the question, right? But now we are there. We are releasing statements. We are organizing events. We are getting people to talk between the convenings, because it's not like once in 4 years we need to talk about these issues. We need to talk
Right.
about them on a daily basis and keep them up.
What would HCI is providing some training for people to become scholars of Hindu tradition, and not so much scholars, but counselors of Hindu tradition, and in that go forward and volunteer and do service. Learn to serve. Basically, that's our motto. So, what would your advice be to them? Where to begin, and uh, where to begin, and how to deal with the stresses that come along the way to avoid burnout?
So I would say that to begin with, it begins with you searching inside, right? And by saying, what is my purpose, right? And that purpose needs to be, if it is about you, your career, your family, your parents, and everything, then that's great. Yes, there are, right? But in that purpose, right? If you, if we all take from the community, right? We want to go to the temple, we want the temple to be clean, we want the temple to give us space to us to sit down and do our pujas or something, we want to be the first to do arti. So as you said, if we want to receive from the community, then the question is, how much are we giving to the community back? So if we want a clean temple when we get to a place, or we need a parking in the temple around, then be that channel to clean the temple when you are there, or be the person who's ready to stand in front of the temple as a chauffeur and tell people, I'll park your car, you go and spend time more at the temple, I'm okay with that, I'll manage your parking, finding spaces, especially in New York. Our temple is in the middle of the city, so many times we don't find parking spaces so easily. So it's like you have to spend 15-20 minutes finding a parking space. But if somebody can find your parking space, you can spend 15 minutes in the temple doing your meditation or your puja or anything. And that is where you need to start. That, okay, I have somewhere taken it for granted that I need this from the community. Am I giving to the community? And in that process, you will, you don't need to start at the chief of the temple place. You can start by volunteering in the kitchen, volunteering in the cleaning team, volunteering in the building maintenance, volunteering in parking services, anywhere, or in a pathshala, in a teaching place, right? Or managing kids to understand what is some, anywhere you can start. And those small contributions in the right spirit will make you get, people will start noticing you. And when people start noticing you, my theory is they will support you for your next levels. They will bring you forward and say, why don't you do this also? Why don't you do this also? And very soon your path will start going up. And because it is a gradient that is moving slowly in the right direction, I believe that overwhelming never happens, because every time an opportunity lands, you make that conscious choice to say yes to it, right? You're not like, I wanted this, so now I'm stressing. It's the opportunity when it presents yourself and you say, okay, I'll do it. Then you know somewhere our human minds are built to say, okay, now I need to find time for it, right? I said yes to this. So when you start finding time, it's not about neglecting something, it's prioritizing it in the right spirit. And when you start prioritizing it in the right spirit, time management is least of your issues, because you do not neglect anything. You just make, and then like in my example earlier, I call my friend and say, thank you for the invite. I'm busy that evening. I will not be there for full time, but I'll be there at 9. And please accept my apologies, but I don't want to not be present in my relationship with you. Now, with that, what happens is the communication is complete. The other person has also absolved that Nitin Bhaiya will not be there from 6 p.m. And now the expectations have been managed to a level where both sides are happy in that relationship. By not communicating, the other person is expecting you, you don't show up, you get at the last minute, and then they're like, he doesn't give us time, he's never there, he comes there for 15 minutes and he thinks he's very important.
So,
And that changes things.
yeah. So, I mean, and I want to sort of take pieces of what you have just been saying and kind of stress them a little bit, because one of the things that you said is um, to go ahead and be an agent for change rather than expecting, and I don't mean change in a big change of the city or the country or the world, but if something is not clean at the temple, or if the parking is an issue at the temple, to take that on, because even as we are part of Hindu Community Institute, we constantly get these remarks from people. Well, HCI should do this. Well, HCI should do that. And wherever they feel they have a need, They want HCI to jump in, rather than saying that, okay, maybe we've learned the skills, so how can we do this? And then that leads us to the second question. You talked about upyog, but you were really saying, what is my ability, my skill set here that I can use? How can I use that in this situation? Can I use it? Can I harness, some other resource to do this? So how can I become the agent for the change that I desire, rather than demanding it from someone else? Because I think that's something that keeps on coming up again and again. Why doesn't somebody else do it?
Yeah. No, the classic story of four people. Somebody thinks everybody should do it, but nobody does it.
Right.
Why my theory is that if I need something, I need to make it happen. I need to make the resources happen, right? And if it takes more than me to manage that work, then I need to garner a convincing proposal for everyone else to support it. What I personally believe is that I, as you said, right, it's not HCI. If HCI exists, then I would rather go in there and say, allow me to use your name to drive this change. Are you okay with this? And this is how we can do it, because I would like to work in that spirit with you. And in my work, people say, oh, no one allows us to do anything. I'm like, because you go in and say, I want to do it. You need to go and say, we should do this. How about us trying to do this way? And allow the organization to take the benefit of being the sponsor of doing the thing, and you just remain the channel, right?
Exactly. So
And when
just
you do that,
set your ego aside, right?
exactly. And when you do that, the world sees who is doing it. The world sees that it is Punitji doing it, or Gauravji doing it, or Nitin doing it. But we are doing it under the umbrella of an organization, because tomorrow we will all go, right? But we want these organizations to continue to work in the betterment of the community. And if we do it under the umbrella of the organization, then the organization stays, and we just remain the transient phenomena in our lifetime for the time we were here. Once we are gone, we have gone, but the organization continues to do the work, and they continue. Swami Vivekananda ji started it in 1893. Even today, we hold him with such reverence and such respect. Why? Because it was not he who did it. He did it in the Parliament of World's Religions. He brought the world to take away all the dogma of our differences. And even today, his words are so true. It has been 130 years, and yet we are tied with our own walls of differences, and we have not been able to bring those walls down. So that means he was relevant then, he's relevant today, but he was not relevant as him. He worked under the Parliament of World's Religions umbrella, and he brought it forward in that. So the organization now carries his message forward, while he himself then also created a lot of work, don't take me wrong, but we at the Parliament hold him with high respect, because he created a purpose for us.
And
Then
in doing so, of course, a path opened, the grace flowed, an organization continued to serve a higher purpose. But in all of that, for everyone that was involved, I imagine that there was a sense of being aligned, the satisfaction of knowing that you're aligned with something good,
yeah.
something purposeful. Do you think that that sense of feeling aligned with a higher purpose brings joy?
Oh, it not only just brings joy, it fills you with so much love and so much, like, every moment. Like, people ask me, like, what is your biggest thing you've done in your life, right? And I literally tell them that organizing the Parliament's convention last year is my biggest accomplishment ever. Not for anything, but because I was part of a dialogue or a discussion that is not solving my house problem or 10 people's problem. It is looking at a global agenda of living together, of solving our issues, of respect for every mankind, womankind, environment, right? Poverty, economic issues, government pressures. And we were discussing something at such a large scale, right? That I became a very small contributor to a purpose of this universe. And it makes me feel proud that I was able to give my time towards that. I said, that is my biggest accomplishment. Me being a CFO for a company, yeah, it personally it's great, but does it impact anybody else? No, it impacts maybe my team and my organization that I'm making the right decision. But to think at a global level and be able to support at a global level, I believe life has given me those opportunities. And with God's blessings and my effort, I will make the most of it. I'm not going to fail the trust that people are putting in me to solve, to be there for them, to help them grow this organ world.
And yet it all starts with just, or rather, it all started with just putting yourself in the shoes of a server at the Jain temple.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we have to keep in mind, because not everyone rises to the heights of you know that you have achieved, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure that there are people along the way uh, in your journey who have been part of the team, and that is fine too, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I was very happy at Jain Center of America. I can spend my rest of my life there just managing the temple and its events and efforts and bringing the kids together. And, but people just said, why don't you go and do this? Why don't you speak here? They are asking for somebody to come and represent Jainism at this meeting. Can you go and help us there? And I just started getting involved. I said, because I personally believe I never say no, right? So if somebody says something, I think, like, okay, all I've now started saying is I can do this, but then it will happen at my time because I'm already committed, right? So that's the only change that is happening to me now, where I don't say no, but then I tell them I can do this 3 weeks from now because I'm booked until 3 weeks with
Well,
various
I
commitments.
certainly appreciate your doing this today, and I know how valuable your time is, and you're attending, I believe, a wedding and still you made this time, and I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get to meet sometime when
Sure.
you come to the Bay Area. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And we do have a wonderful Jain temple here, very close to us, and I'm sure you are involved with it at some level. So please do come visit, and whenever you come visit that temple, let us know, and we would love to meet with you, the
Sure, Punji.
ACI team over here. Thank you so much, Nitinji, and hopefully, and I'm sure, not hopefully, I'm pretty sure that 2023 event is going to be the best ever.
Yeah. And
So
I invite you and your entire community. Please make plans to be in Chicago from 14th to the 18th. We are right now inviting programs and everything. So please present. We are willing to give, like, there is an idea of giving a room and a hall to every faith religion. And during that, in that hall or room, you can do everything.
wonderful. Which
Like
month is that, Nitinji?
August 14th to August 18th. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Summer in Chicago. Yes.
That'd be great. Summer in Chicago is beautiful.
Yes.
So yes, it's a
Yes.
wonderful time to be there, and
Yeah.
it's a great city. But thank you so much, and dhanyavad. Namaste.
Namaste, Jai Janendra. Yes.